My method to get really good, really quick, is to use LOS, line of sight. Now the reason is because if you're using FPV or if you're using a screen, you're looking at what the quad sees. You're looking at not a true simile of what the quad is doing. Don't forget quads use gyros, so when let's say you put one stick in, you put in left rudder, the quad is automatically putting in right aileron. Okay, you don't think of that. No one thinks of that. Well, what you have to get good at is you have to start doing that yourself. Yeah, I'm not saying that you should fly acro. I'm not going that far. We're not, I'm not trying to get you into. I'm not saying we're going to be aerobatic pilots and freestyle pilots, but competent, good flyers. Yeah, a really good pilot that can get in and out of things without hitting things. Yeah. So anyway, how we do this is we're going to have no looking at the screen, no looking at FPV. And one of the reasons actually that some pilots never become super good pilots is because they jump this step. They're never good at this basic flying, and they go on to screen flying and FPV. The secret is by using all these controls simultaneously without thinking about it. That's what a good pilot does. Yeah. It's all muscle memory, it's all natural, and it's all at the same time without thinking about it. Yeah. If you imagine a soaring bird, some sort of big seagull that's high above the cliffs at the coast, right? Now this bird, it's constantly lowering one wing. It's constantly twisting the other wing or the same wing, and at the same time it's constantly changing the angle of one wing or both wings or the other wing. And it does all this at the same time. It doesn't do one step at a time like most drone pilots do. Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. If you like, become like a bird, do everything simultaneously. Now, for this to be achieved, it can take a pilot many years. And a lot of pilots, even after many years, they don't get to this ability, which I'm going to learn you. And it can be achieved in just an hour or two. Yeah. So bear with us. And this is how we're going to do it. First thing you do is you need to find a place which has both of the following. One, it must have a soft ground. Now that can be leaves, grass, heather, small bushes, plants. Just soft ground, not muddy. You don't want the quad to drop into mud, but it can be soft earth. Like some forest floors, for example, have a very sort of soft earthy floor. The second item that it must have a very old, rotten, fallen branches. So basically we're talking about a wood, aren't we? We're talking about a forest here. Now, we don't want a new forest where it's all new trees basically. We want an old forest. We want old branches that's fallen down and at angles and they're all rotten. Yeah, now they're everywhere. I don't know, maybe there's some countries that but that's what you need to find. Now the reason for the old rotten trees is a couple of reasons. One is if your drone hits it or your props hit it, it won't break a prop, it won't smash your drone, it'll just cushion your props and your drone, and it might even get away with it, or it'll just drop to the floor. But the other reason is we need to make a course. We need old rotten branches that fell down at different angles and different heights to go up and down and in and out. We're basically making an assault course. When you find such a place, don't get excited and start flying straight away. Spend a little time to remove any hard, problematic obstacles that might damage your drone, such as fence posts, metal structures or big rocks. Also, remove any small branches that you might not see as you're piloting around the course that your drone might hit, your props might catch. Yeah, so small wiry little branches, remove them. Have a little walk around and sort of like, it doesn't have to be an exact course. You don't have to do everything exact. Don't like make a course and sort of plan it with a big execution. Walk around it and think, right, and go through there and go through there and go through there. But don't go too much into it, yeah? Now before you start, just remember, you need to start taking off in manual and you need to start landing in manual. So don't start pressing buttons to, automatic lift off. Another reason for that is, one, to become competent, but two, we're going to not use the screen, remember. This is all manual, yeah? You're not going to look at the screen. Only before you start flying to do a pre-flight safety check, yeah? That you're allowed to fly blah blah blah. Yeah, you should always do that, but then stop, take off, looking at the drone, and fly through the course. Now remember, try and keep moving. And that might sound a little bit kind of obvious, but a lot of drone pilots, they don't keep a smooth forward flight. And this is because they're always looking at the screen, and they fell into a lazy sort of like, well, the drone won't fall out of the sky. The drone won't start turning left or start turning right. So they basically stop and have a rest. And they don't realise this. It's subconsciously, they don't even realise they're doing it. But I see most drone pilots do it all the time. And there's another reason. By pushing the drone slightly forward, it means you keep flying it. You've got to keep putting other inputs in, left rudder, a little bit of right aileron, a little bit of more power to go up and down. So that's another reason. So keep moving the drone forward. Now as you go around the course, follow the drone and get close behind it, so you can see the drone and you can see the obstacles. Follow it around. And try, if you can, to keep the drone, the middle front of the drone, where if you would have a camera, if you've got a camera, but not all drones have a camera, but that central area of the front of the drone, try and keep that facing the direction which the drone is flying. In other words, don't allow the drone to be twisted, or like what we would call crabbing, yeah? Now this is important because two reasons. One is, if you're going to do photography, cinematic videoing, which most drone pilots do, and that's what this video is aimed for, you should be pointing the drone at the direction of travel. The direction of travel should be towards whatever you're videoing. But the second reason is, it's to get you a better pilot. A bird doesn't fly around a course with its wings at an angle, does it? If you can do that, it means that your flying will be much more steady, direct, safe and smooth and linear. So you'll improve actually all types of flying, especially videos, because you'll be flying much more smooth. Follow a course that's going left and then right and up and down, going through gaps. And I don't mean little tiny gaps. We're not talking about little tiny gaps. Don't be mistaken for that. If you watch the video, none of my gaps are really that small. You can get to small gaps eventually, but there's no need to do that. You're just risking damaging your quad. The idea is to get confident, not to be making videos saying, oh, look at the tiny gap that I've got through. That's not what it's about. Remember, don't look at the screen and don't fly the quad in reverse. We can do that later. Yeah, that's later. We'll come to that. Always keep your quad moving forward. When you get good at this, the next thing to practice is doing the same thing, but this time you stand in front of the drone, yeah? So you walk backwards and you're looking at the drone, you make the drone follow you. Now this is highly important, as it's the only way to get your stick inputs more natural. In other words, when you're using a screen in an FPV, or most pilots are behind the drone, all the inputs is sort of like, well, one way basically. But when the drone's facing you, you can very often, and it's very easy to do, we've all done it, you put in the wrong input and you will do it. You'll be careful when you start doing this, because some inputs will be reversed because the drone's facing you. But actually, they're not reversed, obviously. It just feels reversed, yeah? You're facing it, so it feels reversed. But obviously, it's the same inputs as always. You've just got to learn to do them naturally, muscle memory, without thinking which way the drone's facing. It's got to be at a stage where it doesn't matter whether the drone's facing away from you or facing towards you. You should be putting the right inputs in. And this is why we practice one way first to get competent at that, then we do it the other way. Now when you've got good at both of these ways, then you can do a little bit of practice of flying the drone backwards through the course. Now, I don't propose that you do this for a lot of time, because I believe that drones should be flown forwards. But for safety and for other reasons, you can get into a situation where you need to fly the drone backwards. Yes, so it's also a good idea, and it's a bit silly not to. You should be good at flying the drone backwards as well. But don't do it. I'm not saying do this a lot. I'm just saying it's like the last step. But do it. Don't miss it. Now, if you do everything that I've said in this video, you will get really, really good, and you will be surprised. Honestly, you'll be surprised how shit that you were just an hour or two ago. Yeah, and you'll when you go to the field or you meet other people or you see other people on videos or whatever, and you observe people, you'll realise that you thought they were quite good and they're actually not. You'll watch videos and you'll think, yeah, and you keep it up. Occasionally go back to these obstacle courses and have a little practice. You can even find some out the wind, and it's too windy a day to be going up and taking videos or whatever. Try and find a little forest like this that's out of the wind, plus you're low, if you can find places where they're in a bit of a valley, for example, yeah, an old valley, or there's walls around, or there's a lot of buildings around, so you can find somewhere and you can get out for an hour and just have a practice. Hope you like the video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, watch my other drone videos. Take care, gang.